right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Positive Impact's live panel of experts. And today we're super privileged to have all women coaches. So we're going to discuss a subject that's very close to a female heart, but obviously applies to anybody who's listening. So as women, we often feel, with the societal conditioning that maybe we are second best. Maybe we are not meant to lead. Maybe we are not meant to stick our nose out into the area that maybe belongs to men. Or maybe we were conditioned that there's so many things that can go wrong that why even try? So we naturally enter the arena of entrepreneurship with a bit of a fear, maybe uncertainty. So I want to give everybody a chance to first introduce themselves briefly and then answer this question. What was your experience? Did you start your business with full confidence, or did you come into the arena of entrepreneurship maybe with a little bit of a fear or maybe uncertainty, or whatever your hesitations were? Maybe you can just summarize them to us in this first round, and then we'll do a second round and we'll talk about how to overcome them. What was your experience dispelling them and working through them? So we'll start with Mandy, then Mary, then Tammy, then Karina, please.
Hey there. So I'm Mindy and I am the creative genius consultant. I'm an artist and an author. I'm a creative retreat owner here in Scotland in the UK, and I help creative women to launch, grow and scale their businesses and make more money. But I didn't always do that job. I went to art college and I couldn't find a job in the creative space. So I ended up doing the proper job that most creatives do. And you get onto the hamster wheel of life, doing that proper job, paying the bills, earning money, and your passion seems to move further and further away from you. And that happens to a lot of creative women. Fear sets in because you then believe the layers that society place upon those things, like, as a creative, it's a nice hobby, but you'll never make any money. You'll be a starving artist. These are the stories that are told to us from a very young age. And I believed those stories. I believed I could make money from anything except creativity. So I held myself back. And even though I experienced a series of unfortunate events in 2009 and lost everything, I rebuilt my life doing businesses I knew I could make money from, rather than following my creativity. And it was a loving push from my late husband, who said, stop talking about it and just do it, that pushed me into that creative arena. And once I stepped into it and applied all the things I already knew, guess what? It works no matter what the product is. But the fear held me back for so many years, and I lived with that void. And now I have a really successful multiple six-figure business doing exactly what I love doing. So definitely gone from fear to fierce myself, definitely. And I'm doing even more now. I'm just about to start yet another business. I'm buying a bistro and gallery. And so it continues. I've got a big story, but I definitely lived with that fear holding me back for a long time. And I find that now happens a lot with the ladies that I work with. It's one of the first things I hear.
Thank you for sharing, Mandy. I know you brought up a really cool subject of limiting beliefs and our conditioning. So we'll touch base on that later. Thank you for sharing, Mary.
I'm Mary, the founder of ADAR Developmental Center. It's a one-stop shop for your mind, body, and soul for not just you, but your family. I am now part of Optimize My Life, a live radio talk show, and we're expanding our network with that. I struggled when I first started. I have 2 autistic kids, and I didn't know how to help them. And the coaching industry back in the start of COVID was insane. It was all about how expensive you could charge. And we found a coach that was willing to help us, but it was so outrageous. Basically, her solution was to get a mortgage on my house. And so when I got out of the military and figured out the next plan in life, my kids were diagnosed. So I started training and figuring out ways to help them, especially with communication. Well, in this struggle, I learned who I was as a person. And I struggled a lot with learning how to start a business, for starters, especially in the social media age. because during the start of all this, I was in the military, and we don't play with with social media like you do now. And so learning who I was and how not to second guess myself, because that was my biggest struggle. It opened up a whole new world. I went from one rant on Facebook to getting seen and enough likes to get requests to talk about what I do, to running a radio show. And now we've expanded it to a whole radio station.
Wow, that is incredible. Thank you for sharing that journey. Obviously, there's a lot in it. It seems like a very rich story. And now look, you're a show host. Incredible.
I am.
Thanks for sharing. All right, Tammy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy Drost, and my company is the Business 360 Method. And it's a trademark name because I look at streamlining business operations, aligning business and brand strategy, and integrating marketing communications. I am a business coach, an award-winning business and brand strategist, and I work with female entrepreneurs. And one of the reasons I do that is, as I was growing up in my career, I spent 20 plus years in an agency, corporate, and nonprofit environment. And then I went out on my own as an entrepreneur. But I found that women were very competitive with one another. And I think that came out of fear, that if a woman reached a certain level in her career, there was this fear that another woman would come along and take that position. And in the corporate world, there weren't, when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of women at high levels in the firm. So one of the reasons I work with female entrepreneurs is to give them the knowledge, the tools, the resources, and the support that they need to really start their business on a strategic foundation. And, in my case, I've always been a very strong woman. I had exceptional male mentors, coaches, men who supported me, who showed me opportunities. And I said to myself, why aren't women doing this for each other? Why can't I do this? So I started doing that. And then, 2 months after I started my business, I lost my youngest child to suicide. So it was me second guessing and third guessing myself at that point. And it was almost like starting over, because I had to pick myself up by the bootstraps, rebuild my confidence, and really say, this is what I want to do. This is, I had to overcome that fear and almost start my business a second time after that happened. But here I am, and it's possible. And I just say to other women, go for it. And, look for other women who are like-minded and who can support one another.
Wow. That's a great illustration of hoping that everything's going to go right, maybe being on a good streak, and then, the carpet gets pulled from under your feet. Mm-hmm. And in your case, of course, it was a very tragic event. Sometimes it doesn't take an event that tragic, but I think the ability to become the phoenix, to rebuild, that resiliency is definitely one of the skills that any entrepreneur should have the tools to do that, and the ability to execute those strategies for rebuilding, because it is going to happen. Life is going to happen. And kudos to you for picking yourself back up and rebuilding. And I can't wait to hear more about that story. Karina, your turn.
Hey everyone, I'm Karina Kantas. I'm from the UK, but I live on the beautiful island of Corfu in Greece. I am the CEO of Author Assist. Author Assist has been helping publishers and authors publish and navigate their way through their journey, ensuring their book has visibility and the best chance of becoming a bestseller. I have a team of professionals and we offer extensive packages in multimedia publishing, mentoring and coaching. Those that have been published but their book is not selling, that it's dead, Author Assist can revive the book. I also have a radio show, Author Assist, and a podcast and a TV show called Behind the Pen. Behind the Pen is streamed to over 100 million homes, and my guests are all creatives that use a pen. Well, Author Assist started out as, I'm an author myself. And when I was first published, I got burnt by a vanity press, and I was determined that wasn't going to happen to any of my authors. It started out as I was doing book trailers for my own books and also narrating my own books, and so many people coming up to me and saying, oh, can you do mine? So I thought, yeah, I can do yours. And it started out with those little services, and then that grew and grew and grew until I had 30 services I was offering to other authors. I became more involved with Author Assist when I became ill and I couldn't do a 9-to-5 job. And I decided that everything that I'd learned in the 27 years in this business, I was going to give back to authors and help them make sure they didn't fall into the traps that are out there, and help them get their book out there with marketing and promotion. So I just gave back everything that I'd learned. I think the fear you have is, do I know enough? Am I good enough? Can I do this? I think many women have that fear of going alone, breaking away from their 9-to-5 job, breaking away from corporate, and wanting to take that step and do it by themselves. Will it work out? Am I making a big mistake? And as an entrepreneur and someone who has done that big step, but was pushed into it for other reasons, you need to try. You need to have confidence in yourself and your abilities. If you've done it once and someone's really happy with the work you've done, that gives you the confidence to do it again. And I think it's feedback that you get from clients, testimonials, where my testimonials are so good that I've had people asking, can they speak to these authors because they were too good to be true. I said, yeah, I can give you the name, take a look, you know. But it's when you get testimonials like that and you know you're doing a good job and you know you're helping people. That's the whole thing, knowing that you're helping people. It gives you fulfillment. It gives you the confidence to keep on going. And I think all entrepreneurs, especially the females, I think all us ladies need that confidence boost, because there's always times where you second guess yourself and you step back and you think, you know, am I doing the right thing? Am I good enough? Am I worthy for that title of entrepreneur? And we all second guess ourselves, and we need that confidence boost to know that we're doing the right thing. So
beautiful. Thank you, Karina. You got us started on the next round of strategies or tips on how to now get from fear to fears, possibly giving an example of what we personally had to overcome and what either mindset tricks or strategies we used, and we would recommend other women who are either starting out or maybe are stuck or maybe are not scaling. Maybe that, you know, they're spinning their wheels, but maybe they need to free up their time and stop doing the hustle and bustle. How do we get through these milestones of entrepreneurship to, you know, the smooth sailing? Although I don't know, is there such a thing as a smooth sailing stage for an entrepreneur? You know, share with me what you guys think. Let me just change up the order a bit. Let me get Tammy first, then Mary, then Mandy, and then we'll jump back to Karina.
Hi. I would say one of my tips is, women tend to apologize a lot. And, if you don't get back to an email within 24 hours, you get the, I'm sorry, I didn't get back to you sooner. You're never going to see a man do that. You don't need to apologize. You can get back in your own time. Take a hard look at, if you are apologizing a lot, why are you doing that? Because women tend, I think, sometimes to overthink things. And I'll give you another example. If you have a male, and this is statistically proven, if you have a male applying for a job, they won't go through and tick off all the skill sets. They'll say, well, I meet 50% of the skills, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to apply for the job. What's the worst that can happen? They say no. And I think more women need to go for it. When a woman's applying for the same job, they will literally go through and pick apart the skill sets and see, do I have this? Do I have this? Because again, they overthink it. And they'll have to tick off all of them in order to feel comfortable applying for the job. And, one of the things I've learned over my, the course of my own career is push yourself out there. You have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. So many women fear change and they fear putting themselves out there. But what I can say is once you start to do that, you start to feel more comfortable. Women aren't born with confidence. You grow your confidence as you put yourself out there more. You start to feel more confident. And two more tips I have is embrace failure. Failure is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to go back, try again, find another solution, and do it even better. And the last thing I would say is, again, look for, where your tribe is. Where is your tribe? Who can you bounce ideas off of? Who is your support group, so to speak? Because I think as women, we need that. We need to support one another, to grow one another, and to learn from one another.
Beautiful. Full of tips. Beautiful, beautiful tips about just getting yourself out there. And that goes along with Karina's. Once you do, you will get experiences, testimonials, you'll see the results, you'll see the transformation you're making in somebody's life, and it's going to motivate you to make yet another step and get out of your comfort zone even more, put yourself out there even more. Beautiful tips. Thank you, Tammy. All right, who did I nominate next? Mary. Okay.
I just actually talked about this yesterday on the radio show, and one of the things is your story. Embracing not just the good part of your story, but the bad and the ugly, because that's all of who you are. And when you talk about the bad and the good, which when you go onto social media right now, all you ever see is the good. We put on this fantasy of how we want our lives to project, which is not even close to being true, especially in my world. And when you sit there and you talk about your story, the bad and the ugly, that's what gives you that human touch, that emotional connection with your clients or potential clients, so they can see, they struggle, you struggle, and how you connect together and how you're able to help them. Because we juggle a million different things on a regular basis. And when you start to acknowledge, the bad things that are going on or your struggles in life and what took you to get to where you are, that just gives you that whole other aspect of life and helps boost your self-esteem and who you are, because you're embracing all of who you are. And at the other level, it just gives you that whole new aha moment to remember where you started to where you're going from in life. And remembering all those struggles helps empower you in the same sense, But at the same time, it shows everybody, life is not perfect. Nothing's perfect.
So let me just ask you quickly, why do people not put their reality out there? Why are they scared of being real? And well, the thing that comes in my mind is, okay, well, if I'm flawed, if I have these problems, how can I possibly then be coaching someone who has the same problem? So how do you combat that?
That was a big struggle that I struggled with when I first started. Because with me having 2 kids the way they were, things didn't always work, or things didn't always work out right. You have meltdowns, you have, different issues. And getting people to see that, it was my own self-esteem issues. I struggled with questioning myself. Am I doing the right thing? And a lot of times it is. You question, and it's not, the misconception is that it's a fear of failure. It's really not. When we start a business, our minds are already predetermined to the what if, that 1 foot out the door. If it doesn't work, this is what we're going to do. We already have a plan B set up. It's more the fear of failure, or the fear of actually succeeding. And what happens when we succeed, especially when we didn't plan for all the huge things that come after you start becoming something, especially with social media industry, And so, when you look reality TV, you got the Kardashians, you got how many different reality shows. They always show just the good things, all the good things and everything. And we end up wanting to project that to show how great we have it. And it's more of a delusion to ourselves, lying to ourselves to make ourselves feel better. And we don't like to portray the dirty laundry. And we've done that for how many centuries? The bad things stay hidden. What you talk about in your house stays in your house. And you always want to, and you're taught too at a young age, you always portray yourself as fake it till you make it. You're big, you're successful, you're great, you're all this, so that people can see what you don't have, but you think you have. And learning that it's okay to be flawed, especially with women, you're always taught you have to have your makeup done, you have to have your hair done, you have to be dressed a certain way, you have to be acting a certain way, and you have to be polite and yada, 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 yada. And so when we take the bad things out there, it's going against everything we've ever been raised and taught. And this is where we need to start breaking that cycle to understand we're all human. We all make mistakes. It's okay to be outside that little comfort zone of what people are really going to see what's really like.
Wow, some heavy, deep thoughts there, I think, for everybody, for me especially, because I like to put good things out there, and the bad things do stay behind the screen, behind the record button. I do mention them here and there, but I'm not a kind of person to just, when I'm going through a hard time, to just go on camera and talk about it. I'll leave it for another day when I handle it, then I can mention it. But
That's it.
Yeah, definitely lots to think about. Thank you for that. Mandy.
Hi, how do I follow that? Everything that Tammy said and everything that Mary said, absolutely spot on. So I'm going to talk about something completely different. So what would I say as top tips if you're going to be, because women do have to face their fear and do it anyway. We've all probably read the book. When I lost everything in 2009 and hit my rock bottom, the one thing I had was me, my brain, my skills. And I decided that I was going to remove the glass ceiling and just think really, really big. And I started working with vision boards and visualizing. I'm a creative and doing the work, really doing the work behind that and visualizing really, really big. And I lost everything in 2009 and ended up at rock bottom, and I had no money. I was a single mum, living in social housing. And I'd lost so much. It's the topic of my book, The Life I Won. But I knew I wasn't going to stay there. And we've all got that power. We've mentioned it today, this power of knowing that we can be resilient and we can bounce back up. And I gave myself permission to think big. And 10 years later, I was able to buy my dream home for cash. And then I launched my dream business. Then I put a castle on my vision board and said, why not? Let's go really, really big. And I thought, well, that'll be a 10-year plan, that castle. I wanted a castle in Scotland so I could run retreats for women from all over the world. And guess what? That was 2020. It's 2023. And I have a miniature version of that castle right now. And I'm doing it right now. And I'm going on to the next thing. Soon as I gave myself permission to think big and to create vision and to put some really good quality strategic plans behind that vision board that took me into action, taking action all of the time. What next? What next? And I didn't listen to the naysayers. And I didn't listen to the people that were saying you can't. In fact, I showed up, like Mary said, on social media and said, look, 10 years ago, I lost everything. I was at rock bottom, living in a council house. I tell the narrative of my story all the time through social media so people can feel like I'm just a normal bird from Manchester living in Scotland now. And I was in a council house 10 years ago, and now I've got this mini castle and I'm doing retreats. I've got a coaching business. I'm now about to buy this next business. The bank have just given me the money. So I think it's give yourself permission to think big and take the action, go beyond your comfort zone, even when it feels uncomfortable. And it's okay if something fails along the way. I have failed so big in my life, but learned so, I mean, goodness me, I've had 4 husbands. I'm actually better at picking staff than I am at picking husbands. Believe me, you've got to learn from the failures along the way. But the last one was wonderful. I've got a 25% success rate with husbands. The last one was amazing. And he was the one who believed in me and pushed me towards my big dreams. And he said, you've done it elsewhere. Why can't you think big enough to make this work? Go ahead and do it. And it was that permission from myself and permission and the reinforcement from somebody else. Give yourself permission, ladies, wherever you are now, to think even bigger than where you are right now. That's the biggest tip I can give anybody.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Mandy. I think it goes along with what Tammy mentioned, to have a support group. If you don't have a supportive husband, or if he's no longer around, then we need to surround ourselves with people who believe in us, who give us that permission to dream and cheer. Whether we fail or succeed, they'll help us pick ourselves up. They'll celebrate with us, right? That's what communities are for. Community economy is what's big in 2023. I think it'll be here to stay. And the more targeted the community, the better, because sometimes we join all these huge groups and we get lost as a needle in a haystack, right? So we need to connect in small groups like this, so we can really learn about each other and what we're like and find something in common. And I see a lot of commonalities here, and 25% success rate. I like that. I've done 2 already, so I'm on the pathway there. All right. So Karina, how would you top that up?
This is what I was just about to say. How do I top that? Ladies, you're amazing. I admire you so much. Kudos for everything you've done and what you're doing and what you plan on doing. So I told you how Author Assist started. But let me tell you how Author Assist has been going for the last 8 years. I have been working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, to make sure that I give everything I promise to my clients, to make sure they're happy with everything and they get what they paid for. Problem was, I never saw my worth in all that time. And I was working for pennies. I'm not saying that I was being used, and they knew that they were getting the best deal, but I never saw what I was worth. I didn't know that all of the experience I had, all the talents I had, all the knowledge I had was worth more than what I was getting. And it took 8 years to learn that. And when I did, and the light bulb went off, and I stood back and I looked at the big picture and I went, no, this isn't right. And so I rebranded and I came back as Author Assist, stronger, bolder, and not taking any more, I would say not taking any more crap, but not I was helping other people more than I was helping myself. And although I love helping people and I continue to do that, I have to think about myself. Self-care, I have very bad illnesses, which is why I started Author Assist, because I couldn't work. I'm on 17 pills a day just to get me out of bed. They're invisible illnesses, so what you see and the smile, nobody knows what hides behind a smile, let's put it that way. But without going into everything, I wasn't looking after myself, and I was burning the candle at both ends, and it was making my health worse. So rebranding and losing, I had 30 different services I was providing. I loved what I was doing. I still love what I'm doing, but I narrowed it down. I squashed so many of them. I put them into beautiful packages. This is what I have. This is what I can do for you. And it's it gives me more time for myself, to look after myself. It gives me more time to do. I mean, I'm a writer and I can carry on writing now. I have the time to do that, to publish more books. It gives more time with the family. It's sitting back and knowing what you're worth, and then what you think you're worth, put more on top of that, because you're still not when you think, well, honestly, when you think you know that's what I'm worth, it's still not enough, because you still don't see that. Tips I can give is, if when you lose confidence in yourself, and as I said, we all go through this second guessing, you need to look at what you've achieved so far and write down a list of your accomplishments and what you're able to do, what your what's the word now? This is part of my, it's called fibro fog, and it just, you forget the word and you forget what you're talking about.
Don't worry.
No, what you're able to do, your ability, write down all your abilities, and you'll be amazed at the list that you have. I'm able to do this. I've done this. I can do this for my clients. I have this, and I've achieved this. And it will, you'll be amazed at how long that list is, because you don't see what your abilities are and what you're able to do and how far you can push it. And always grow, always learn, because there's so much more out there. And by learning more and growing in yourself and your abilities, you're actually helping your clients more. You know, when these people that I see working as VAs and PAs and everything, they've been doing the same thing, then they've been doing the same marketing for the last 10 years, but marketing changes from one week to the next. And if you don't go to those seminars and you don't go to those webinars and learn what's working and what's not and what's hot, then you're not giving your all to your clients, because you're not sticking with what's trending. You know, you're doing what you think is the right thing, but especially in marketing. I mean, the trends change all the time. So I'm always going, I'm always learning, I'm always keeping up with everything. Otherwise, I'm not giving my all to my clients. Sorry, I lost my train. Sorry, I lost my track and my train of thoughts there, but I hope that made sense.
Yeah, great tips, great tips. I wanted to do another round, but we're running out of time. I have a call in 5 minutes. So what I would like to suggest to everybody, since we are on all platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook group, YouTube, I'm going to share the links with every single one of you. I would like you guys to put in the comments first, something special for our audience, whether you have a freebie or a special offer. And maybe if you can think of any other tips that you didn't get to share, because we run out of time, put those tips in there in the comments as well, and invite our audiences to, come forward with any questions or any clarifications that they will require from you so that we can continue this discussion. If you are game for it, let's do another one in a short little while. Maybe we'll dive deep a little bit, maybe more about business strategy. We talked a little bit about mindset. I know Mandy talked about vision boards, but then she said she executed a lot behind the scenes. She didn't just create those vision boards and leave them there. So I'd like to get a little bit more meaty in terms of strategies, tips, resources that we've collected along the way that maybe aren't as popular. And let's stay in touch with each other. If you guys want to put your information in the chat and contact each other later, that would be great. We do have a networking events Fridays, every fourth Friday. And that is available on all of our social media. So I hope that you guys will jump onto those as well, and we can continue our discussion there. And thank you so much. This was super encouraging for myself. Every time I have these, I learn so much. It's like a coaching session for me. So I hope our listeners and viewers feel the same. Please do get a hold of these beautiful ladies for any questions and services that you need. And we'll see you guys next time.